What you're about to hear was actually recorded after the official podcast episode. And I was saying to Jeremy, the managing editor of the Gay and Lesbian Review, I really want to release this because what we're talking about is so interesting. So thankfully, my, recording was still going on Fathom, which is like how I just record and I use an AI note taker to like help with podcast episode notes. So that's a little behind the scenes. So, Jeremy, when you jump into the conversation, we had been talking about like how there's just gay pioneers in queer literature. So Edmund White, Andrew Holleran, and Jeremy starts with that. Like, who was he reading when he was coming out? And then who was I reading as a millennial? And then, you know, who's the great, queer writer of the Gen Zers. And then we talk a little about what happened in our heated rivalry conversation. So tomorrow you're going to hear that episode in full. I'm joined with Jeremy, I'm joined with Joseph Federico, and I'm joined with Colin Carmen. And the three of us just had an incredible time chatting. And I just hope you enjoy this like teaser of the episode. And if you're in the Northeast, I hope you are staying nice and warm and you're ready for this blizzard, which is about to hit on Sunday. So definitely a good time to catch up on reading and catch up on podcasts. So, share the Ivory Tower Boiler Room with everyone in your community, especially if they love heated rivalry. Okay, talk to you all later. I hope you enjoy this.
For somebody who came up and came out in the 90s like I did, he was one of those big queer writers who was already established and who, I haven't read that many of his books, and I didn't really start reading him until later than that. But he was like in the canon, but I'm sure it's different for young people, and there are, all kinds of younger queer writers who have become successful, or at least become known and acknowledged to some degree. So
Yeah.
I actually need to do some catch up on like who are the great queer writers like under 40.
Well, I would say Casey McQuiston and Red, White, and Royal Blue. Not me, but like Gen Z, that's probably their reference. Mine would be Andre Osman, which I don't think he's queer. I think
Well, he's
he says he's
married
straight. Yeah.
to a lady.
I mean, he could be
Yeah.
bi. I don't know. But he,
Michael Chabon is married to a lady, and he's bi. And he
yeah.
has also written some very queer content. Have you ever read The Mysteries of Pittsburgh?
No, I should add that to my list.
You
No,
should.
The Mysteries of
That
Pittsburgh.
is a great early book by Chabon, and it is it's I'm giving a little bit away because it doesn't seem like it's going to be queer for maybe the first 100 pages, but then
Mm,
something very queer happens,
okay.
and it becomes a queer novel after that. And I mean, he's a great writer. I've read a handful of his books and enjoyed them all. And The Mysteries of Pittsburgh, though, is the one that specifically has real queer content, where most of his books that I've read don't, except maybe kind of implicitly.
Mm. Yeah, I mean, I would say like even Christopher Rice, well, Edmund White, he's in the Andrew
Edmund
Holleran camp though. Yeah.
Edmund was one of those writers who I discovered when I was in college back in the 90s. I read A Boy's Own Story and then made my way through the whole trilogy, and read a few others, and have more that I need to read. But yeah, I mean, he's like at the top of the mountain as far as I'm concerned. Certainly among his generation, but I mean, there are beloved and gifted gay writers today, like Ocean Vuong,
Oh, yes.
but like nobody is
Or
matching.
who writes A Little Life? Because that would be a great film.
Oh, that's Hanya Yanagira or something like that, I think.
Yeah. Yeah, see, I feel like they would be, you're right. Like there's definitely, again, I always feel like literature will always be the most niche of any genre just because of how much exists, like, and how you access it sometimes in terms
And
of,
people
yeah,
don't have a lot of time to read, and there's always like instant gratification available on our phones, and the gratification of reading a novel is not as instant. That's one of the things I love about the review. Like, we generally
yeah,
don't do anything with genre fiction. We really look for queer literature that is written with a
yeah,
sort of seriousness of purpose, and that, we would never review anything by Rachel Reed other than, my line or two about how she's a bad writer in my review of the show.
yeah,
Like,
yeah,
I understand that that stuff is popular with a wide audience, and I salute the people who want to read it, but we maintain certain standards at the review, and I think that's good.
yeah. No, I agree, and I think that it was fascinating. I was talking to a Seton Hall professor, and she is like, she went to Canada to see the Heated Rivalry screening. She's um, like talks with another male romance writer who did The Offensive Charm, it's called, and like she's just obsessed with like this genre. And I think that
Is she a queer person or a straight person?
I don't know. I don't know. I can't assume. I all I know is she really is into queer literature. So I think she's a queer woman, but
Well,
yeah.
we would never review a Rachel Reed novel, but I think it might be worth doing for us to have somebody write about the phenomenon of these male romance novels, because they're huge. I mean,
Yeah.
Heated Rivalry pointed a lot of us toward a subgenre that we didn't really know existed,
Yeah.
and made us realize that it has a ton of fans out there.
Yeah.
And it's not my cup of tea, but it is for a lot of people, and it obviously means a great deal to a lot of people. Like, I see so many people, so many women in particular, posting on social media about how they read all of the Rachel Reed books, and they have watched Heated Rivalry like 10 times or more, and they just can't get enough of this stuff. And I think it's a fascinating phenomenon for many of the reasons that we were discussing today. I think the way that this has such enormous crossover appeal is really interesting, and something the LGBTQ community should be capitalizing on
Yeah.
to try to win back the mass public to our side. Did you see the op-ed in the New York Times a couple of days ago about how much the queer community has lost ground in public support over the past 5 years?
No, no, I didn't. Mm-mm.
Let me
I'll have
see if
to look it up. Yeah. But like as you're
uh,
looking that up, I actually think if it's okay with you, Jeremy, I'm not going to release anything we've said that uh puts down an author, but like the section here where you talk about heated rivalry, can I share that as like a teaser to promote as
yeah,
long as it's,
I
nothing
mean,
was like
if
negative.
I've put it out there in print, certainly you can. I mean,
Oh,
I'm
thank you.
not. I haven't had any Rachel Reed fans come after me yet. Maybe I will. But I mean, I stand by what I said. She's not a
Yeah.
good writer. I mean, I've tried to say that as gently as I can.
Yeah. But is she a
But
better writer than 50 Shades of Grey's writer? It may be freezing here in the Northeast, but when I received my copy of the Gay and Lesbian review, it warmed me up instantly. Their new issue is all about kink culture. Let me explain a little. I'm going to read what Jeremy C. Fox, the managing editor, has to say about this issue. He says this issue marks a bit of a departure for the Gay and Lesbian review as we crack open the bedroom door to explore the practices and paraphilias that interest or obsess some LGBT people and the roots of their appeal. Several feature articles delve deeply into why certain kinks turn some of us on, and whether we can discern historical and aesthetic rationales behind these fixations. This magazine features articles such as The Power of the Foot. Oh, yeah, they're going there with foot kinks. Maplethorpe's Gift to America, Reclaiming the Sacred Dungeon. Tumblr was a gateway to kink, and Cruising with Boyd McDonnell. You definitely want to get your hands on the kink issue here. I have an exclusive promo code that those at the Gay and Lesbian Review have granted to you all. It is ITBR Choice. Enter it when you check out on the glreview.org and you will get a free issue of the magazine. I hope you all enjoy your reading, and it'll definitely keep you nice and cozy. Now that the spring semester is here, I am so excited to let you all know about a publisher, an independent publisher that's celebrating 40 years of great books called Broadview Press. I love Broadview Press. I have so many of their editions of classic literature like Wuthering Heights, which is coming out soon, and it's our book club choice. And they have so many academic books for instructors and for students and the general public. So I've had so many exciting guests on, from guests talking about The Wonderful Wizard of Oz, guests talking about vampire literature, horror literature. I'm looking at you, Jeffrey Andrew Weinstock. I cannot wait because I have two exciting guests coming on soon. And I've recorded their episode, so I know that it's going to be such an interesting conversation. The first is Rachel Tukolsky, who wrote a book called Writing on Fire, a fierce yet friendly guide to writing humanities essays in college. I've used excerpts of it for my Writing 2 course at Montclair. It has gone over so well. I just love what Rachel does. And we get into this in our episode about this metaphor about writing on fire, like how that's a great way to think about free flowing, brainstorming, creative ideas, and getting into that flow state, which, as Rachel explains, happens not just in writing, but in many other avenues. And then the other guest that I have on is David Starkey, who wrote a book called Academic Writing Now, a brief guide for busy students. It is designed to cover the basics of a college writing course in a concise, student-friendly format. Each chapter concentrates on a crucial element of composing an academic essay and is capable of being read in a single sitting, which, for a generation, myself included, I think all of us now, just consumed by digital media or just this attention grabbing technology, reading in a single sitting is definitely a plus. So head to Broadview Press, use the promo code Ivory Tower, and you'll get 20% off every single book in their collection. There's also a really cool digital library collection they have. So if you're a librarian, take a look at that. Message me. If you're a librarian, I'd be happy to show you what that new collection looks like. And I hope you all enjoy your reading.
Well, I've never read 50 Shades of
Oh,
Grey.
I read it because that was when I was a lifeguard in high school, and it was all the rage with the suburban moms. They were like 50 Shades of Grey, like everyone had it at the pool. That caused a wave, but that caused a wave because of the BDSM fantasy
It was
culture.
very mild BDSM from what I
Yeah.
understand. I've seen the movie and I appreciate it as a camp comedy. I think the movie is
Yeah.
kind of hilarious. But I have not read and do not intend to read any of the Gray books. But to your point, back when that was the height of at the height of its popularity, I went to a Halloween party with my then boyfriend who dressed up as a middle-aged mom reading 50 Shades of Grey on the subway. Like
Oh,
he saw so many of these like wine
yeah.
moms who were just out in public reading their pornography, and he thought it was so funny that that was his costume.
Wow. Yeah, no, it really hit a um yeah, romance has always like spicy romance. I mean, there's always been, what is it? Danielle James? Is that her name?
Danielle Steele
Danielle Steele James. I think I
from
just
back in the
like,
day.
but yeah, Danielle Steele. And then I'm looking at your article, that the article that you sent, and yeah, that the anti-gay backlash is frightening. I mean, I will say we didn't really get into it, but I definitely think that there's something to be said with the whiteness of Heated Rivalry. And
Shane is half Japanese.
oh no, you're right, you're right. Shane is half Japanese.
But yeah,
Um,
it's generally a pretty white show. I mean, the Russian girl, like Ilya's lady friend,
oh yeah.
she looks darker than a Russian to me, so she must be mixed or something. But by and large, yeah, and she's certainly not a significant character who has a huge amount of screen time. But yeah, overall, it is a very white fantasy, which obviously is probably one of the many reasons that it is palatable to such a wide fan base.
Yeah.
And I mean, yeah, it is pure entertainment. I mean, it's not, it doesn't entertain everybody, but it's not trying to make a larger social point,
Yeah, it's
except
not
maybe that you should accept gay people.
yeah, it's not Moonlight, which I think
No,
Moonlight is spectacular. But again, did Moonlight have that crossover appeal?
I mean, Moonlight is, one of those movies that it's kind of shocking that it won Best Picture at
Yeah.
the Oscars and almost didn't because they started to hand it to the wrong movie.
Yeah.
But it was a critical darling, and it was popular with enough people inside the industry that it won that Oscar. But yeah, it certainly didn't have, all the white suburban moms being like, "Ooh, Moonlight, Moonlight."
Yeah, well, like some of my friends are like devastated that Wicked isn't winning awards. And I'm like, I didn't think it was going to win awards because it didn't even win Best Musical on Broadway. Like sometimes what's most popular and the phenomenon isn't that doesn't equate to awards.
I mean, popularity certainly helps, but it also depends on whether it's seen as like something serious that is adding something meaningful to the conversation. The Academy is notoriously snobbish about comedies and horror movies and most genre films like
Yeah.
sci-fi and thrillers too. So, it is in its own way a genre film. And I mean, there have been a few musicals over the many decades that have done well with awards, but it's not that many, I don't think.
Yeah, I
It
would
is
say I think
interest.
Chicago,
Well,
Dreamgirls, Bill Condon films.
yeah.
I think that's both Bill Condon.
Mhm.
But yeah, no, no, no. And I am gonna do a Wicked episode with a professor at Princeton who like specializes in Wicked and just Broadway musical analysis. And like she's even feeling the fatigue. I'm feeling the fatigue and I love Wicked, but I just think that press machine, I understand why they did it because they're trying to like create a new Harry Potter, in my opinion, but it just feels like a lot. And I also think like the whole pink and green and like I
Or
love the
pink and green
acting.
coffees at Starbucks.
Yeah. Like I love the
The
acting, but I also like, did you see the films?
No, and I
Oh, okay.
probably won't. I was so exhausted by the publicity machine that I was like, I feel like I've seen this movie 30 times. Just like
Yeah.
every time I open a browser or I pick up my phone or I go to Starbucks or I walk through a mall, like
Yeah.
there's always something wicked near me.
Yeah.
And it just I reached a level of exhaustion where I couldn't stand the film even before I saw it.
The fatigue is real. No. And the only thing I will say is I still hope there's a TV series that's more adult, more dark in its themes, more about like the power of authoritarianism, like the things that are actually in the book.
Mhm.
And I like the musical for what it is. I think the Broadway or the stage production is actually more adult oriented than the films are. I think the film versions, I love the acting, but they start to read as theme parky and they start to even the filter, like I know that it was all handmade sets, but it even looks like you don't even see like the creases on their face. Like it feels so artificial. And I don't like that Netflix lighting. I hate when something is lit to the max. Yeah, it's not my kind of like cinematography.
Yeah, and it's unfortunate that so much filmed content is going and has gone that way. And I think that that's, one of the many points about Heated Rivalry that led to its success, I think, is that it has very intentional lighting and it's frequently pretty dark. Like it's the scenes on the ice obviously are
Yes.
very brightly lit, but when they're in a hotel room or in one of their apartments or they're in a restaurant or a nightclub, those scenes are very dark and there's a lot of very gentle amber lighting that makes everybody look pretty. And I think the cinematography is one of the reasons that it stands out and that it feels elevated and doesn't feel trashy. Because you change the lighting on that show, and I think it would feel less elegant.
Absolutely. Yeah. Well, Jeremy, I love talking with you. Oh, and let me know uh or I can like, email you, but I'd love to do the kink episode like beginning of February. That way I can like kind of time it like around Valentine's because I think that would be
Cool.
interesting. So
I love
if
that
there's
idea.
yeah, if there's like two writers that you think would be a good fit, I'd love to like get in contact. Yeah.
Yeah, you mentioned before that you were interested in doing an episode on this issue, and I mentioned to Casper Byrne, the one who wrote the Tumblr article, that you were interested. I think Casper and Sergio Interdonato, who wrote the foot fetish article,
Oh, okay.
so Sergio is in Italy, and Casper is he slash they um, uh, is our American, but is living in England right now.
Okay.
So we would need
Yeah.
to kind of work with a more European timetable to get both of them easily. But I think the two of them are the right people to speak for this issue.
Yeah. Maybe we could do it um like 9, 10 o'clock in the morning on like a Monday or a Wednesday, because that's when I'm off.
That's when I'm thinking about kink the most.
Is in right in the morning, right when you wake up. Wow.
Yeah, wake up, take a shower, put on my chaps, and I'm good to go.
I love it, Jeremy. Well, so good talking with you. I'll be in touch. I'll send you an email soon and we can like figure that out.
Sounds
All right.
great. I really appreciate all the opportunities to help get the word out there. And it was great having the conversation. I think it was really interesting and a lot of fun.
Yeah, it was. It definitely was. Okay. I'll talk to you soon, Jeremy.
All right. Take care.
Okay. Bye.